Hello everyone. This is calculating the annual percentage rates of ETFs. This is episode 3, recorded on June 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Dr. B. Today's ETF, I'm going to focus on the Technology Select Sector SPDR ETF, otherwise known as XLK. Back in 2014, if you had $10,000 invest and you didn't touch the money, you left it in this ETF, wow, be through some peaks and valleys and peaks again, your amount would be worth $73,221. That's an excellent investment. Now, how did it get here? Well, it's a technology ETF, and it's only invested in what else but technology. If you take a look at the other sectors, there's nothing else invested in. XLK is comprised of 65 equity holdings. The number one equity holding goes to Microsoft, which is 21.95% of XLK. Followed by number 2 is Apple, 21.76%. And number 3 is NVIDIA with 6.09%. NVIDIA has been in the news all summer, all year long, even last year. It has done really well. This stock was $1,200 a share a few weeks ago, and then it split 10 to 1, so now it's about $126 a share. But if you had 100 shares in NVIDIA up until early June, now you have 1,000 shares of NVIDIA. The XLK dividend is compounded quarterly. And here is our formula that we've been using. Present value equals the principal amount is what you invest in times 1 plus R over N. R is what we're looking for, the annual percentage rate, divided by N, number of times compounded in a year, raised to a power of N times T. T standing for time in years. And here is our proof. Now, once I mentioned before, in geometry, you had to learn proofs. You have your statements on one side and reasons on the other. With this video, we're going to show you all the statements and reasons, but I'm just going to go one line at a time. First statement is the compound interest formula. This should be given information, and here's our formula. Statement number 2 is substitution. So we're going to substitute the present amount from June 22nd, 2024 of $73,221. That's equal to the initial principal of $10,000 multiplied by 1 plus R over 4 raised to a power of 40. 40 is the product of number of years, 10 times number of times compounded year, 4. And then step number 3, use what's called the division property of equality, and you divide 73,221 by 10,000, and you get 7.3221, and that's equal to 1 plus R over 4 raised to the 40th power. And we divide one number by 10,000, divide the other number by 10,000, and then these turn to a smaller number. And then what you have to do next is apply what's called the natural logarithm, or natural log. You put the natural log on both sides. That's the symbol ln. And you can find this on a regular calculator. I use a TI-30 calculator, but used one for many, many years. You can find these on other calculators. You can even use your cell phone. Now, I'm familiar with an Apple phone. So in an Apple phone, you would type in 7.3221 and find the natural log button, and you click it, and then what would appear would be 1.990897 with some numbers after that. Matter of fact, the numbers that appear after the 7 is 172. But how far do you round? The more numbers you use after your initial decimal point, or your only decimal point, you only have one decimal point in a number, you should round maybe 6 numbers. It depends. If this was like a 0 after this 9, I'd probably just round to 5 decimal places. But this is a 7, and a 1 is after the 7 that you can't see right now, I rounded to 6 decimal places. So it depends per the number. But 6 is a good number to use. And then from there, you have to utilize the properties of natural logarithm by taking 40 as an exponent, and then it becomes a multiplier. But we're not going to multiply by 40. So what are we going to do instead? We're going to divide by 40. So we use division property of equality on both sides, and we divide by 40. And then what happens? 40 divided by 40, that's 1. So we don't need to put down a 1 next to the natural log. But we have to have this decimal, which is 0.0497724. Now, here's a case where I rounded to 7 decimal places, because after the 2, I had a 4. So maybe it won't change our answer in the end, but I figure I'll keep the 4. So that means after this 4 here must have been a much smaller number. And then what we do then is we apply what's called the natural exponent. The natural exponent and natural log are inverse of each other. So when you take e to a natural log of anything, the e and natural log disappear, and on the right side you're left with 1 plus r over 4. And then e raised to the power of 0.0497724, that becomes 1.0103. Now, I may not have gone over this in previous videos, but e to a power of 0 is 1. Just like you learned in school, any number that's not 0 raised to a power of 0 is always 1. So it makes sense that this decimal has to be a little bit more than 1 because our exponent is a little bit more than 0. And then to get r over 4 by itself, you have to subtract 1 on both sides, and we do that in step 10, and you get 0.05103. And then finally, we multiply both sides by 4, and we get a number of 0.2041. So that means since June 22nd, 2014, XLK has an annual percentage rate of 20.41%. Update information for XLK, you can refer to this website right here. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to our video, and I'll see you again next month. Thank you.